IKONINI. So, najua ni Jamhuri Day na tuna celebrate 62 years of Kenya's freedom. But kuna hii interview ili happen on Wednesday night. Ilikuwa ni interview ya ubuda naitwa Gachagua. Alikuwa KTN. And kuna kitu moja ile alisema, ile inakuonyesha like how our so-called Singapore dream is far-fetched. And the reason behind that is alisema hii story and it's not made headlines anywhere because we just took it like this is a madman talking. And as much as in quotes tunaweza sema it's a madman talking, this should be enough to spark our interest for us to want to know more, that maybe, just maybe, he's saying the truth. Najua kuna hiyo story at even a broken clock is right twice a day. So alisema nini? Nataka to go back. Alikuwa nabonga juu story ya Ikolomani and the gold in Ikolomani, and remember that gold ilibaki mekos like protests and paka watu wakabaki wamededi. And one thing about Kenya ni hatukuwagi very honest. So since hatukuwagi honest, when I hear something like this, I'm there like, could there be some level of truth in it? Wacha tusikize.
In Kenya, look at what is happening in Ikolomani, my brother. 338 acres. 800 people are being displaced. It is said that there is gold there for 643 billion. We have information. The gold under is almost 6 trillion. This gold, why are the locals not involved?
Did you send
why is it not being...
Have you sent geologists to give you that information?
Let me tell you what is happening in this country. Let me tell you what is happening. Let me also tell you what is happening in this country. Let me tell you what is happening in this country.
So natikio part wanaanza kuargue ile like the journalist anamuuliza like have you sent any geologist, but which of course he's supposed to ask. But shidangu ni this happened on Wednesday, and on Thursday I expected more reactions towards that, more questions. Become to history the gold in Ikolomani, but there are no questions. So are we just supposed to take this guy who is a former deputy president, are we just supposed to take him as a mad guy, like as a crazy guy who says things that have no basis? Or are we supposed to look at it and be like, okay, sir, maybe he's on to something? What if, let's say it's not worth 6 trillion, but it's worth 1 trillion? That would mean that there's 300 billion going into individual pockets. But wacha tuendelee.
Very many people are very bitter with the corruption that is being practiced. So we have a lot of information from people inside. The gold deposits in Kakamega are in excess of 6 trillion. Okay? Yet, this gold, without public participation, without consulting the people of Ikolomani and the people of Kakamega, have been given to a company where Ruto and company have shares. It's outright corruption. The gold deposits in Kakamega are enough, yeah, to make Kakamega a county that you salivate when you go there.
Okay, even nilikumbusha, I think it was 2024, kuna msee fulani kwa ameandika juu Ikolomani, and he talked about the gold in Ikolomani and how Ikolomani has gold everywhere. Najua, it was just one of those things. It's 2024. We've not been told that there's gold worth 680 billion. Of course, you look at it and you'll be there like, but now getting this information, because for me it's hard to just dismiss it as the ramblings of a bitter man, a bitter ex-deputy president. I still look at it this way. I look at it from the perspective that so far we've heard that the president is involved in shipping gold to Dubai ama UAE via the Sudan rebels or something. Unajua hiyo story ya Hemedi wa Sudan, then Ruto, then gold to UAE. So tushasikia hiyo. And then tusikie this other level of information that's still about gold. Even before listening to Gachagua, let's ask ourselves, if the president has been involved in some clandestine gold deals, and then there's gold in Kenya, and in Kenya he's basically above the law, he'd not be involved in the same kind of bullshit. Yeah? Okay, but wacha tuendelee.
And these gold deposits belong to the people of Kakamega, they don't belong to government. But because there is corruption, Musalia, Wetangula, and Shinali, the MP, have been compromised by Ruto. And I'm telling the people of Kakamega, they must say no, they must not allow There are 6 trillion gold deposits to be stolen by William Ruto and company.
You've mentioned what Singapore has done to get to where it
Yes,
is.
corruption.
You've mentioned problems.
So I'm asking you, my brother. You are telling me.
The question is, Mr. Gachagua, let's talk solutions.
Yes.
You form government. How will you achieve the Singaporean dream if you form government from the United Opposition perspective?
We don't want to tell people like we shall be like Singapore.
Hapo nakubaliana na Gachagua. Historia kwambia watu tutakuwa like Singapore ni kucheza. Those countries, I think we always ignore the element of integrity and how important integrity is. Integrity is everything. Integrity is what makes every shilling be spent in the way that it's supposed to be spent. Integrity is the thing that makes people that if you come up with a budget of 100 billion to build something, you only spend 100 billion. But in Kenya, tunajuaga what happens. Like, we end up spending more. I'll give the example of Atlanta Stadium. The original budget and what was spent, we ended up spending more. If we look at Bunge Towers, we spent more. If we look at what else, like we always, alafu kiangalizi mabarabara. You remember like majuzi kulikuwa hata na hii, the video that was going around where this tanker could not be able to kupita chini ya hizi bridge za Kenya because it had this big thing that was from China. So they prefabricated. So they're just coming kuziwekelea. So ni vitu zile kama budget ilikuwa ni $20,000 ama let's say maybe that's on the lower side. Let's say the budget of that huge thing is $500,000. That won't change. Najua kuzishanunuliwa imenunuliwa. Ikiingia kwa country haifai kutaksiwa cause of course ni part of the government. Ni nani kitaksiwa inafaa kwa unajua the government doing business with the government. But what happens? But wacha tuendelee na Gachagua.
We don't want narratives and theories like William Ruto does to cheat people. We are honest people. What we know, we don't know whether we'll become like Singapore or like Egypt or like America or like whoever. It doesn't matter. What we know is that we must deal with corruption. Corruption. And corruption is Kenya's problem. William Ruto is convincing everybody that the problem of Kenya is tribalism, so that people stop looking at the real problem of this country. You know, we must deal with corruption decisively.
Yes, we must deal with corruption. Corruption nakwaga a very big problem yetu. And but still before that tubongeja Ruto, wacha tuangalie the United Opposition. So the United Opposition jana kuna vile alikuwa nafaa kwa, was it a meeting, and then some ended up attending, others did not attend, and it brought up this whole story of is there like a problem going on there. So kulikuwa na hii press conference waliitisha, ile Gachagua was there and Kalonzo was there, because anyone who has any level of deduction has noticed that Kalonzo is being pushed, especially by Gachagua, as the guy who's going to be the flag bearer. But wacha tusikie vile hii story ilikuwa reported, and pia nizaniambia, do you think there is like a division ama hii tu ni propaganda ile inatoka from Gava?
United Opposition leaders issued 2 parallel State of the Nation statements as top principles of the outfit remained conspicuously missing during a media briefing in Nairobi today. Although the principals have downplayed talk of divisions in the union, the differences which had recently been in the public limelight seem palpable. And as Emmanuel Toh now reports, the leaders have collectively blasted President William Ruto's administration for, among other things, what they called silent auction of the country's strategic assets without public participation, even as the country marks 62 years of being a republic.
So history of things being auctioned, it's an interesting one. Like as I keep saying, man, and I'll be honest and say, I've not made the right calls, but I really want kukaa chini na Dede Nyoro. Naweza taka sana justify ya history ya kusema that something was this price 4 years ago, so it should not be sold for this price, because maybe there's something I don't understand about the stock market. But what I know about stocks is stocks go down, stocks go up, and they're supposed to buy low, sell high. And does that always happen? No, it doesn't always happen, but that's the way it's supposed to work. But nataka kusikia juu ya Dede aniambia why Safaricom, as much as the stock iko chini, why should we be selling at a high price, and why does he feel that? That would be something good to understand. But wacha nitatry maybe put in more effort when it comes to that, but wacha tusikie.
They stepped out in a show of unity as the top principals of the United Opposition outfit addressed the nation on their State of the Nation address on the eve of the 62nd Jamhuri Day celebrations.
Leo tunataka tufunge mwaka tukiwa pamoja.
And as they paraded their unity, several figures were conspicuously missing. PLP Party Leader Martha Karua, Jubilee Party Deputy Party Leader Dr. Fred Matiang'i, and the group spokesperson Mukhisa Kituyi were not here. DAP Kenya Party Leader, who was tasked with reading the United Opposition statement on behalf of the rest of the principals, first to dismiss talk of cracks in the camp.
So, kabla tusikie kile Wamalu alisema, what's disturbing about this story is later in this report wanaonyesha that those people who are missing had another whole meeting on the other side, and of course these meetings zote because na happen Nairobi. So you're wondering like how big is Nairobi? Is Nairobi that big? Because when you come to Kenyan politics, Nairobi inakuwaga so small because they are not even scattered. Wengi wao waga hiyo area, kuna moja iko State House, the president, but hao wengine wako tu hiyo area Ngong Road. Unajua that's where most of the offices are, Dennis Pritt, Ngong Road, State House. So you don't expect it to be the situation whereby a part of them is having like a meeting alafu wapatani, but wacha tuendelee.
Matiang'i was not here, but he sent Senator Onyonka. If you do recall, because we started the journey with you, today he has sent Senator Orioba is here with us. And Martha Karua spoke to His Excellency Kalonzo. They were together yesterday. She spoke to me.
However, a few hours after the statement by the United Opposition, another communique by the United Opposition wing, which was a no-show at Kituyi House, was also released, complete with pictures at another venue. The members who were absent during the address had held another closed-door session, reportedly to receive new members into the outfit. Although almost similar in content, the lack of coordination in the releases has raised eyebrows on whether the opposition center still holds.
But do I think, is this something to make anyone panic right now? I don't think so. I think, hata ukiangalia stories NAC in the year 2002. Hiyo ndio ilikuwa NAC, if I'm not, because the Rainbow Coalition, yes. It happened last minute. It happened in, when was it? It happened in October and the elections were in December. So I don't think this is anything to worry about. It's 2 years to go, and in those 2 years, everyone right now has those political ambitions. Everyone thinks they are popular. But in 2 years time, kila mtu atakuwa shajua, I'm popular but not this popular. Maybe I need to join this camp. Maybe I need to join this camp. So will I be surprised if one of these United Opposition guys ends up jumping to Ruto's side? No, I won't be surprised. Why? They don't stand for anything. I don't think they are that principled. That the only person who I don't expect to jump, and we're going to see anaweza jump ni Kalonzo. Kalonzo is too old to jump. Makes no sense. If you offer him a vice presidency, okay, unless he expects to be another Mudiawori, I don't see why a vice presidency would be appealing to Kalonzo. But tuendele.
Contacted on phone, Dr. Kituyi said he was out of town, adding that some principals had given their event a wide berth without apology.
What used to be Railaphobia has now become Rigathi-phobia. And they're trying to sell Rigathi-phobia to try and divide the opposition, drive a wedge between Gachagua, Kalonzo, Wamalu. We will not allow it.
This comes as the team also sustained their onslaught on President William Ruto, labeling him a latter-day neo-colonialist who was auctioning the sovereignty of the people without the consent of its citizens.
Hapa ilikuwa kitu ilinibamba pia ni speech ya ubuda anaitwa Muturi. Muturi, of course, you have to look at it from the perspective of a father who had his son abducted while this said father was part of the cabinet. Like, damn, your time kulikuwa rough, ilo nachikigi mpaka ukikumbuka ile after toke gava, kuna Justin Muturi kunapatia the story of how when his son was abducted, he called Ruto, and Ruto now was to call Haji. It shows you how dark, man. Kenya, man. Damn.
Take it seriously. Take it very seriously. We stopped them when they're trying to auction JKIA, and we will stop them.
This is not economic reform. This is international neocolonialism, a quiet auctioning of our sovereignty.
The leaders warning Kenyans against being hoodwinked by President William Ruto.
Mkifika pale Limuru, where Ruto launched the Ridoni Mau Summit Road, there is only a signboard. There is no equipment, not even a wheelbarrow.
If you ever see William Ruto pursuing a matter that on the face of it appears to be public, to the benefit of the public, please be careful.
Emmanuel
Okay, so yeah, so have they separated? Is there a rift? I think it's too early to think about that. I also think size in hii time ya Christmas period, a lot of people are shutting down mentally, and even for the politicians, they know right now we want to go on our Christian mode. Najua, we want to be as good as possible, and still then January to tete in January, then Feb before tujue mwaka inaenda kuisha. Najua 2026 itakuwa imeisha, alafu 2027 tunaenda election. So time flies like that. But I don't think that is any big issue vile like mainstream media wants to put it, that there is a rift. And if there is a rift, I think this would be the best time to get the rift. Najua, because there's enough time to repair the damage and enough time to know who's committed and who's not committed. Iko Nini. So the festive season is here. Na LemFi wako na a very great offer kwako. Abaki umesign up ukitumia the promo code Iko Nini, and on your first transaction ya $50 ukisend home unabaki umepata a $20 sign up reward. Najua, $20 sign up reward on your first transaction of $50 only. Why? Because it's the festive season. Baki umechangamka, tumia promo code Iko Nini, ingia LemFi. Why? Upate the most competitive exchange rates, alafu pia inakuwaga ni chap like transactions ziko instant. Changamka haraka, LemFi, international payments for everyone. Iko Nini. But kitoka hapo, acha tukesa kwa story za Ruto. Ruto of course amekuwa kipushi story ya kuosha Nairobi River, and I always find this to be a very good idea. Majuzi tulikuwa na udem anaitwa Wendy Kimani, and we are talking about Amsterdam. Alikuwa anasema vile even for Amsterdam, for example, as much as weed iko legal, kuna vile walianza ku discourage wase ku take, cause watu walikuwa nakama wanavuta alafu wanaanguka kwa zile macanals za Amsterdam, wanabaki wamedrown. So one thing about those canals is zinakuwaga so clean. At least ukiziangalia si kama hii yetu ilionaga, angalia hivi ukitumia Google Maps vizuri jo, angalia Nairobi River utaona raha ikivua suruali ndio ishonde. It's disgusting jo. So would I want it to be super clean? Yes. And but wacha tusikie vile Ruto anatupatia promises zingine jo. Hii nakumbuka there's this guy anaitwa nani jo, and next year we'll take him up on his offer, but Itumbi alituambia that we need to cover government projects and actually prove that they are working, na tuna need kumshtua. So next year nitamshtua, nataka kuona hii Nairobi River. I want to know from what part they are like wanaiosha to what other part, and of course now nitakuwa nikimhit up because of security. Hapo Nairobi River vitu nishajionea, hiyo area si area tu ya kutokea tu Iko Nini. Hey, naweza shangaa.
We have at the moment a whole cleanup of Nairobi River that's going on here in Nairobi. That cleanup today is hiring 45,000 young people in the city of Nairobi. In fact, hopefully before I break for Christmas, I will be going to check on how far. I have promised the city of Nairobi, we cannot be the environmental capital of the world and have a river in our city that has sewage.
Kwa ile time nikisema jo, ukiangalia Google Maps jo, unaona gari imeshikilia trao jo, inaenda kuteremsha ndio yangushe kinyesi. So hizo ni zile vitu fanyaga tunakaa these savages, and it's just kuna zile vitu mtu ushindagwa nazo, like do we really need to do this? Like do we need to, does everything have to be like supervised for mse kuona sifai kushonde Nairobi River? Kuna sasa sema that ni vile kuna choo, hakuna nini, hakuna, but you need biodegradable jo. Tafuta place hakuna nini kwa bungu fulani jo, siende kwa river. But maybe that's a story for another day.
It's not possible. It's contradictory. And therefore, I have committed that by January 2027, on the 15th, we will have completed cleaning the Nairobi River. And it will not just be cleaning the Nairobi River. We will have a whole new city with housing, with markets, with playgrounds along that Nairobi River. And the government of Kenya is going to spend close to 40 billion shillings to do that.
Damn, okay. I guess hapo ndio inaitangwa gentrification. Wasoko majujo, niambie, ndio inaitangwa gentrification ama zi. So, nasikia vile nasema jo. Because sasa itamaanisha the poor will have to move out. Because kwa na view ya the river, view the river, and the river is flowing, the water is flowing, so mosquitoes hazitakuwa as a big menace as they would be where the water is stationary. That would be interesting to see. And but yes, so this is one of Ruto's dreams. This is a dream that, I'll be honest, the first time I heard it, I thought it was a pipe dream. Nilikuwa nafikiria pia ni kitu moja iwezekani, but nimekuwa nikiona some images that people are saying are from Nairobi River, where they've put mpaka like something around hivyo. Okay, imekuwa look interesting. I don't know if it's real. Siku hizi sasa shida ni ya ujuagi kama ni raia imeenda ikachapa AI ama raia imeenda nacheki. But still, nakuwa nikibonga juu ya Ruto na kuinvest kwa stories za hotel and the hospitality industry. And so, shida pia nimekuwa nikihave na Ruto ni kumekuwa na a lot of privatization of national assets. And Bomas is one of those. So I think tulisikiaga kulikuwa na KICC. Alafu saa kuna Bomas. Na history ya Bomas, there's a time they were denying it because inasemekana the guy that was given like the contract to rebuild is a Ruto ally. This is someone who'd been deported by Uhuru. And but Ruto was talking about Bomas. Wacha tusikize.
In a few months, what we have always wanted to do, to build a new conference facility in Kenya. Many of our neighbors have gone ahead of us. We've seen what has happened in Rwanda. We've seen what has happened in Uganda and many of our neighbors. But I can now confidently tell you as the citizens of this great nation that by April next year, we will have built the largest conference facility in East and Central Africa.
Damn, the largest conference facility. What's can it get bigger than Kenyatta International Conference Center? Because that's what KICC was supposed to be all about. Sindio? So is it bigger than that? Or is it a specific room that's bigger than that? I don't know. But wacha tusikize.
Right here in the Bomas of Kenya. It is one of the things that I really wanted to do for our nation. Whenever I get a few minutes in the evening, I go there to see. And if you follow what goes on there, it is being built 24 hours. Because I have given a timeline that we must begin to use that facility and begin to make money from that facility from May next year.
So the Bomas of Kenya, of course, that one is a government asset. So I expect that to maintain. And it will also be good if, apart from conferences, there can be performances. The same thing that happens at KICC. So that will also be good. So I think one of the things tunani kufikiria pia ni hiyo story ya theaters and performance theaters. Kenya National Theatre is not enough. Najua it's always fully booked. Getting it is really hard. Tukienda kwa Nairobi Cinema, for example, on the other side you inakuaga somehow dilapidated. Dilapidated. Okay, damn. Kizungu imenipotelea jo. Mzaniambia hapo kwa comments. Inakuaga imetupa mbao kiasi. So jua kawe ni an Iko Nini fan, najua tuko tunapatanaga huko like every December. Hopefully tutapatana December 2026. So yeah, and but wacha tumalizia na Ruto.
Yes. Kwani mtafikiri tutafikisha trilioni moja how? It has already been booked before it is complete.
It has already been booked for France Africa Summit in May 12th, 2026.
Okay. Alafu ushajulizaga hii jina 12 tulitoaga wapi jo? Cause ushenotisiwaga ni kila mtu jo. Nikisikia 12, the things that come to mind ni kisaperi. But it's something that's said by anyone. Usikize Mluya atasema 12. Usikize Mjaka ni 12. Usikize sasa rais ni 12. So hii 12 tulitoaga wapi jo? Naweza taka kujua. But so niambie ni Jamhuri Day. So kuna vile Gachagua amesema gold iko Ikolomani ni worth 6 trillion. Do you believe that? Naanga kuna time nilisikia Uganda pia walikuwa na sit on a lot of gold. Paka I think we reacted to that. Kisema vile Uganda inaweza turn into a first world country before sisi. But African countries uchoma sana. Hizo uchoma jo. Because nachiki Waarabu, that's all they did. Walipataga oil, alafu they turned their countries into first world countries. Hizi makantri mob za Waarabuni zilikuwa mashithole. Nachiki country kama like UAE. That's why ukikuwa place ka Dubai, alafu ugo round enough in Dubai. Because last time nikiwa hizo masaid nilitembezwa jo. Kuna boy anaitwa Ridwan jo. A big shout out. Nakumkali nipeleka raundi kadhaa, and I remember going to some places that were third world dish to me. Si ati juu ya nini ama nini, but hazikuwa zinakaa first world. Lakini ukiwa katikati ya Dubai itself, it looks super first world. But unaweza notice hizo places za nini. So if we have gold worth 6 trillion, that would be enough to change a lot of stuff. But try and imagine if 90% of that is being stolen. Najua, because I don't know, that's why maybe it's too much. But do I think that the gold is only worth 680 billion after living in this country since I was born? I don't think I can believe that. I believe that gold is at least worth at least 1 trillion. There has to be money that's being stolen. Najua. So that's the Kenyan way. But baki umenishtua jo, ni Jamhuri Day. So hii videos juu unaiwatch saa ngapi? Unaiwatch asubuhi ama unaiwatch after? But kama kawaida vile sasa maga, good morning. Iko nene.